Well, we're back again. Imagining what if is Joe Biden really following the FDR model? Seems to be. He's proposing a lot of the same things that Biden proposed. One of the things FDR did early on in his presidency, he didn't have a pandemic to deal with. It wasn't 1921, it was 1933 when he was president. But it was a time of difficulty. But people needed relief. What relief was helpful the most immediate, is what he went right at. And he said no more prohibition. That is, no more limits on what you drank or what you didn't drink. None of that was illegal anymore. He made it free. People felt complete freedom for the first time for a long time. People were really happy. Getting out of the depression was going to be harder, and the WPA was going to come in and so forth. But then later in 33, then Franklin Delano Roosevelt eliminated prohibition entirely. That's whiskey, all the rest of it became free for everyone to use. Pretty much so. The revenuers started collecting revenue stamps, making people pay for brewing their own stuff and having stills and what have you all over the hills of Kentucky and Tennessee. But nonetheless, it became free. And if Biden were to do something like that, imagine what would happen. There's a pretty much strong idea if drugs became legal under Biden, like they were at least under Nixon. Nixon said you only went to jail if you sold on the street. It was Reagan who made things worse by putting everybody in jail. We went from 250,000 people in the jail system under Nixon to 2 million people and plus under Reagan. That's a fact. That's not opinion. Reagan did so much damage to this country, it's hard to measure how bad he was as a president. But the wall came down that saved his presidency. It looked like he defeated the Soviet Union all on his own, which he really didn't, but there's another story there. So Biden, if he does the elimination of the drug laws, that means that people will have to be forgiven, and courts will have to be brought in to wholesale tell people that you're no longer in jail, you're coming out, your convictions are turned around, there's widespread pardoning of people who are in jail, and suddenly your jail system will change to something much smaller than it is if he does do something like this. What does that do? People no longer can be turned away from jobs, lots of things for having had drug offenses. Their humiliation of being put in jail goes away. They become human again, equal to everyone else. And if the drugs are used as only you go to a hospital to get your drugs, free if you're addicted, those kind of behaviors make us a wise and civilized country. But are we going to do that? Is Biden willing to do that? That's a brave thing to do. What would happen at the border if that were to happen? The border would become no problem. The migrants would probably say, well, if the drug lords can't run things anymore, they're off my neck. They're not going to prostitute my children. Just stay back in Guatemala and stay in Central America and stay in South America. Don't bother going to Mexico. Things will be civilized here. It gets rid of so many problems. And then the other thing it does, the people who are addicted, if they get help, Biden would be given credit for that. It's a really very just thing to do for a president. And social justice does matter because the people claim Christianity. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. What's that about? Jailing people for using drugs? Jailing them? What kind of nonsense? That people who are addicted are like people who are sick. So let's put an end to this thing. Stop pretending that you care about your fellow man if you're going to jail people. Humiliating people and sticking them in jail to suffer and then continue to suffer when they get out and not to be able to vote. And this wonderful governor of Florida has done a job of shutting people off. What's happening?
We have a note from production. We want to state one fact to back you up. When marijuana was illegal, at the cartels, everybody ran the game. Once it was made legal in Colorado, California, Washington, and so on, all these states, once it became legal, these cartels cannot sell $1 worth of marijuana no more. They cannot compete with medical and marijuana businesses producing this exotic, potent stuff. And with different options, you can, with edibles, you can eat it, you can drink it, you can smoke it, you can do all sorts of ways marijuana has entered, the industry, the legal industry. It has decapacitated the illegal industry. So if we do that with cocaine, crack, and all that, obviously, no one will be able, no one will be able to sell it anymore. Now,
Well, Alex, let me
question.
thank you for the interjecting of all of that support, and I think people are to make those specific points is hugely helpful. There's no question. I thank you for that. But there's other countries that have done the same thing, made it legal, and Switzerland and several countries in Europe have done exactly what we would if Biden were to do this, and that's a hope and a wish. Whether he will or not is an if and a maybe. But if he were to do it, it becomes a whole game changer, like you cited.
Mushrooms became legal in Colorado.
Well, you're going to cite a lot of circumstantial things that make it obvious, and what's been banned because of marijuana, the making of hemp. What is hemp? It's a cloth, and it's a rope, and it's a lot of materials that are very inexpensive as a product and very high quality, better than cotton. And product shirts made of hemp are beautifully soft and wearable and durable and all the rest. Hemp is a very versatile product that's damaged because of the fact it's related to marijuana. And so when you open this thing up, lots of possibilities of greater future for the use of things plays a bigger part. So, but we've suffered under this nonsense. It was made bad under Nixon, worse under Reagan by far. Nixon was jailing people who were selling. Reagan jailed everybody, and his wife said, "Just say no, and you'll be fine." This is the nonsense of Reagan. Reagan was, in my honest opinion, the most useless, most dangerous, most defective president next to Donald Trump. Nonetheless, that's my opinion. Anyway, I'm sure you're wondering why I have this towel around my neck. Was he in a shower? No, he was going to sweat, but he realized it was a relief to just talk about this ending of drugs. So it made him feel so better, so much better. Thank you for listening.